Tefillin are special boxes and straps placed on one's arm and head, as the Torah says, "Bind these commandments as a sign on your arm, and as totafot, or phylacteries, between your eyes." The shoresh, the root word of mitzvah, commandment, relates to the word tzavta, or binding. As such, every mitzvah is an act of love that binds us to God, but tefillin are the paradigm mitzvah, in that we literally bind ourselves to the will of God. The two boxes represent the two ways that we serve God in this world: thought, that's the head, and action, the arm. Tefillin are made of two square, black leather boxes, which contain parchments of Torah verses. One of the boxes is worn on the bicep, the tefilin shel yad, and the other is worn on the front of the head, tefilin shel rosh. Attached to each box are black leather straps, or retzuot. Inside each tefillin box are parchments containing 4 Torah sections. Here you can clearly see 4 pieces of parchment in 4 separate compartments within the bayit. Let's take a look at one of them. Every part of the tefillin is made from animal hide, including the piece that keeps the scroll wrapped up tightly. The text is handwritten by a sofer, a scribe, just like Torah scrolls and like mezuzot. This is the passage in the Torah that tells us to remember the Exodus from Egypt and to put on tefillin. Here's a look at the single scroll from the arm tefillin. Whereas the head tefillin contains separate scrolls for each Torah section, the arm tefillin has just one parchment, which contains all 4 passages written in separate sections. Here's the first, the obligation to remember the Exodus. The second tells us to teach the laws to our children. The third is the proclamation of God's oneness and the first paragraph of the Shema, in which we are commanded to love God and to bind ourselves to God by wearing tefillin. The fourth is the second paragraph of the Shema, which discusses the human element of our relationship with God, not on an individual basis, but as a whole Jewish people. There are 2 types of knots that one can tie for the head tefillin. Some say they are divided down Ashkenazic and Sephardic lines, but local traditions influenced by congregational clergy, teachers, and parents coming from varying traditions has blurred those lines. The single daled knot on the right consists of one loop in the shape of the Hebrew letter daled. Daled is sometimes associated with concepts such as da'at, a knowledge or understanding of the connection between the physical and spiritual realms. The knot on the left is a double daled knot, which has 2 loops resembling 2 daleds inverted next to each other. The 2 loops can be interpreted as symbolizing dual aspects of God, transcendence and immanence. As you can see here, my head tefillin is tied with a double daled knot, or a square knot. Either way, these knots can be adjusted easily to fit the loop to the wearer's head size. When you're putting on your tefillin, the talit goes first, and then we prepare to put on the tefillin. We roll up our sleeve on our non-dominant hand. We remove any watch. We pick up any watch. We take out our tefillin, first unwrapping the tefilin shel yad, the long strap. Unravel that. The bayit, the box, or the house, containing the Torah text, goes on our upper arm, on our biceps muscle, with the strap further up the arm and the house, the bayit, pointing down the arm. I'll do this for right-handed people, and it is mirror image for left-handed people. So you put that up on your biceps, and you want to have the bayit pointing inwards towards your heart. And then we wrap 7 times, going around the back of the arm. Wrap 7 times around the forearm, and that's from after the point where it crosses the elbow. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're just going to hold on to that with our thumb while we say the bracha. The first bracha for tefillin goes like this. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehaniach tefillin. We then do a few wraps just to hold on to it, get rid of some of the extra retzuot, the extra strap, and then we prepare the head tefillin. Unravel that, take it out of its box if it has one, and the way I do this is I hold the loop of the head piece open with the straps that hang on the sides over my thumbs so they're out of the way, and I gently put it over my head, making sure that the black part of the retzuot, of the strap, is facing outwards. And then just make sure that the knot is roughly at the nape of my neck and that the box is roughly on my hairline, or what used to be my hairline, and that it's centered. Now I have a camera in front of me and I can see that it's roughly centered, but you might want to draw a line with your fingers along the outside of the bite and one finger in the center of it, and it should roughly line up with the middle of your nose, and then you can tell it's centered. Sometimes the box, which I don't keep mine in a box, has a mirror in it, and you can look and see that it's centered. But anyway, it should be between our eyes and about mid-forehead. We then say the blessing on putting the head tefillin on, the second blessing, which is kind of a two-parter. We have the main blessing itself, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al mitzvat tefillin. And then we do a ceremonial adjustment, symbolic, just to make sure we're getting it right. And then we proclaim our faith in God. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Those blessings, both of them, thank God for the commandments that make us holy and that are specifically commanding us to wrap ourselves in tefillin, as well as the general commandment for tefillin, which are contained, of course, inside the tefillin. And we'll talk about that later. We then go back and finish the hand wrapping, and while we're doing this, we're reciting the three-pronged blessing of betrothal to God, often chanted at weddings because it has that language of marriage and betrothal, where we wrap ourselves in God and proclaim Ve'erastichli le'olam, ve'erastichli betzedek uv'mishpat uv'chesed uv'rachamim, ve'erastichli be'emunah ve'yada'at et Adonai. Three expressions of betrothal to God. We then wrap, I'll try and do this a little bit up closer. We then go around the underside of our hand and come up above the middle finger and do another wrap above the middle finger, above the second knuckle. And then do crisscross, come back across it, and go underneath the middle finger. So far we just have our middle finger involved. But now underneath our hand, we're going to bring it up behind our fourth finger and bring that back to the center where we started from. And then one more wrap around the back, and all of a sudden you can see we have a shin. Shin. Not only do we have a shin, we also have a dalet, and I'm about to create a yud. Those three letters make up the name of God, Adonai, the almighty name of, Shaddai, almighty name of God. We can tie this down by making a little bit of a loop, a knot, inside the palm of your hand, and feed that through. And this, in a sense, creates a little bit of a yud. You can imagine this being black. But there's also a dalet on the back knot of our head, and there's a yud here as well on our arm, which just is made from a knot up on the arm tefillin. All of these letters being part of the name Shaddai, the almighty name of God. And that concludes the wrapping of tefillin, and we begin the prayer service.